and good afternoon. Welcome to the Alexandria Brief. I'm Ryan Belmore, founder, publisher, owner, journalist, janitor, whatever it may be. But today I am interviewer as well as your host for this conversation. I guess all this week. This week, we've been interviewing candidates for the two races that have popped up, Senate District 39 as well as HD5. And today we're turning back to Senate District 39 or to Senate District 39. On Sunday, we had House District 5, our Delegate 5. And we are going to be joined by Julie Lineberry, the Republican nominee for Senate District 39. Lineberry is a longtime Alexandria resident. She moved here in the 1970s after working in the White House personnel office during the Nixon and Ford administration. She's been a realtor with McKerney Associates for nearly 50 years and served 10 years on the Alexandria Electoral Board and has been active in the community in many community organizations, which I'm sure she will mention. She became the Republican nominee last week, and she's running against Delegate Elizabeth Bennett-Parker in the February 10th special election to fill the seat being vacated by Senator Ebbin, who's leaving to join Governor Spanberger's administration. Early voting starts January 31st, so not long from now, and that's just 9 days from now. And let's see if we can do this now. Technology. Julie, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, it worked. Anything in my little shortened bio there that I didn't get to that you wanted to introduce yourself with?
Well, only the people out there listening, the realtors, throughout Northern Virginia might like to know that it's McInerney, and it's now Corcoran McInerney. But I did retire from real estate during COVID in 2023. Like many people, different jobs became hard to do when you could not meet with people, people that you didn't know coming off the street. So realtor open houses became sort of a bridge too far.
Yeah, I actually purchased a home in Rhode Island during COVID and had to go through the process there and then the process of selling, and then moved down here, and it was still COVID and had to go through the process twice. And it was certainly a different experience for all involved. So
I know I had to sell my house during COVID without benefit of I had a realtor, but I couldn't represent myself because of all the various things and had to do it all remotely. And the most thing I loved about my 47 years was meeting with my clients, meeting face to face with people, showing them houses, meeting the sellers, doing all of that kind of stuff. And I'm schooled by the idea that the voters out there, much like all of my clients, people who wanted to buy, rent, temporary rent, that type of thing, they all had concerns. They had all personal things. Nobody was just like everybody else. Everybody was an individual. So part of the reason that I joined this kind of pop-up campaign, which has been apparently, literally short term. I find that this crazy pop-up that we've done, candidates who are still running and aren't actually resigning until the 18th of February, in the middle of a session, and having somebody else have to resign in the middle of the session to run against me. My opponent has resigned her thing as of, I believe, the same 18th. It just happens to be the turnover date of the turnover date for the legislature. I'm pretty familiar with that type of stuff. So it's maybe sort of a convenient time to vacate offices and switch around down there. So, but I don't think it's at all fair to the voters. The voters, at least even where I live, who went to vote for a firehouse, thought they were voting in a Democratic, it was said as a primary, and they did not realize that they were going to have to go and sign pledges of loyalty to vote for whoever the party was running again. And as it turns out, in less than 30 days. that was sort of when I saw that there was no one running on the Republican ticket. I literally, during the last half hour of filing, sent them an email declaring. And so, as it turned out, that they didn't. I won the endorsement of the party, and we did not have a party canvas, and it was canceled the next night. So I'm sort of like a pop-up candidate, but then so is Elizabeth, and so are McKirk and McPike and Mason. We're all pop-up candidates, and that's where we are. It's not it's not the best version of nonpartisan politics or the electoral. We should not have elections this way. People don't need to be in the dark and only relying on you personally to get the word out.
Well, I want to be a little clear here because the Democrats had several people come forward, and that's why there was a firehouse primary to choose their nominee. The Republicans could have went that same way, but instead they chose one candidate.
So, I know that. I understand. I was secretary or chairman of the electoral board in Alexandria for 12 years, almost 12 years, for 11 years. So I understand how things happen and why they happen, but those are usually not scheduled ahead of time so that the first person can take a appointment with a yet to be approved agency that's not going to be funded. But I understand it was his legislation and he loved it. So that's the way life goes,
Yeah. So I guess that might answer it, but why run for office now?
Why? Because I think that the voters deserve a choice. You can't have it scheduled sometime, before when the day that the General Assembly opens, to have two of your members, one from each house, resign so that they can run for new offices. I think it's a little whatever, but it's sort of smokes of old wink and nod kind of politics that has gone on forever. And maybe that's a very old term, but I've been around doing all kinds of politics for over 60 years. So my first campaign was when I was 16. So whoever's doing the trolling out there can figure out how long I've been doing that. I've voted in elections ever since then, every single one of them. In the Midwest, in the South, in Arkansas, in Missouri, and then in Virginia since 1974.
Well, maybe we'll talk about Missouri later. That's where my wife is from.
One of my second homes. Yes.
There you go.
I never intended. I intended to go back to St. Louis County when I ended up with being offered a job at the White House after the inaugural commission. So
my in-laws are in Chesterfield, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know that well. I have my roommate lives in Chesterfield. They bought one of the very first split levels that were being born when their baby was expected. Their first child was expected.
Regarding this process, I wanted to we got a lot of questions about it, and I just want to get you on the record.
Sure. Go for it.
Sometimes it's tough to understand a statement or a press release, but you used words like hijinks, election manipulation, said the political machine is undermining democracy. Do you generally believe Democrats broke the law or acted unfairly?
I'm not sure those were my lead words, but they are words that I used in that. And that is when you have a smooth slide, when you are in politics and you are a party that wants to keep control of certain seats, you can best do it by limiting the process by which your candidate is selected. Yes, the party bosses love to just appoint and say, okay, this is his turn, this is her turn, this is her turn, this is his turn. And yes, I know the Democrats opened it up for the thing. They were swamped. They were beaten by the same percentage that I expected they're going to turn out for me. But in fact, in any of those elections, there were less than 6,000 people voting. We have 155 thousand voters in the 39th district. I wouldn't say that's representational. Now, I hope they all come out on the 10th of February, to their regular polling places. They don't have to take, group things or have rides to take them there. There's a very short window for getting your absentee ballots in or to vote early. I mean, voting early from starting on the 31st, that means you've got 10 days to vote early. You better get yourself down there. So I hope to be, standing outside of the electoral board down, where on market day, for the farmers market, in the cold and greeting whoever else shows up bundled up. I hope we all look like it. Let's assume that we don't have another storm that week. So
let's talk about solution. How do we, a lot of these processes that have been taking are law or the party or the committee's rules. How do you change them? How do you make this better?
Well, I'd hope that's the reason I'm doing. I've been known as a conciliator. I've been somebody that's able to talk to things. There are many, many people watching you, many people that are Elizabeth supporters who know me quite well, probably know me. They all know me better than Elizabeth. I've only met her once. She bicycled out when she was on council to the nights out, the neighbors' nights out with the police came up here to go to her house where I retired and I'm living, and I'm very happy in my precinct here at the View precinct. And but she bicycled out and was got there a little late because she didn't understand how difficult it was to bicycle from Delray all the way to the edge of the West End. But we've lived out here in the West End, and actually it's my first home was out here in the West End. So I've returned to the 22311 area, my West End. Yes.
On your website, which is, let me throw that up here now for everybody to see, is julie4va.com. You say that you're running to serve District 39, not a political party. Fairly, unfairly, people are going to look at that Republican next to your name and say, not even try to learn anything about you.
I'm sure. I'm sure that's what they want to know.
Maybe what you agree with the Republican Party, what you disagree with, what kind of Republican you are, what people can expect.
Well, it depends. I used to be considered a moderate. But the Republican Party, like the Democratic Party, have now done away with moderates. You get canceled. You're just you either are not a Republican or you are more conservative. You get named, you get tagged with names. It's just like Elizabeth being tagged as is a progressive the same as a liberal? They're shunning the name liberal, or she's not a moderate, although our new governor did run and was titled as a moderate. I think on their first day of office, she sort of has dashed those adjectives. But yes, I would say I'm a moderate. I've support. I run campaigns for people in primaries. I've supported Republicans in Republican primaries very strongly, very, very strongly. But I do, and then I have to look at the people that end up as the two choices on the ballot. And that's exactly what happened when in the 24 election. I had been supporting a different candidate, but when it came to election day, and it was either to vote for Biden Harris or for Trump Vance, I just watched Biden for the last 6 months. It was not a choice. There was no choice there. And that was not the Republican Party's choice. That was the Democratic Party's choice.
The district votes about 70% Democratic to win. You need crossover voters.
Correct.
How do you get them?
Well, I hope they're listening to me today and that they're maybe tired of being on a steamroller, run over by a steamroller, or pre-told who they have to vote for. For all those people who are waiting for the email to come out and say, this is who you vote for. This is where you show up. This is what you do. They are probably not my voters. I'm no Pollyanna to politics. I didn't think, oh my gosh, I'm going to come in here and flip a Democratic seat that's been a Democratic seat for long ago. I mean, I think it's probably been 20 or 20 years or no more than that, because Patsy Ticer was the previous state senator to hold this. Not exactly this. It's been redistricted 4 times, but prior to that, it was Bob Calhoun, who she defeated. So I worked for Bob Calhoun in his campaign. I supported him in his campaign. I will say that I've always been a citizen. I've never been there as a member of, I was a real estate agent. You're independent contractors. You have to work your butt off to make a living. Realtors work so hard. Everybody thinks they're rich. They're not. But in any event, I worked as a volunteer. I've always been a volunteer on all these campaigns. I enjoy putting myself in there. I do hostess telephones. I have arranged coffees for candidates back in the old days. You used to do that, instead of using social media, which is now it's the new reality. I know. I'm a techie in gray hair. I'm like a frosty techie. I love it. I'm not afraid of AI. I'm not afraid of being on social media. But there are a lot of people that don't, and it's limited. It's limited by the papers, or the free papers that go out, or the subscriptions of what you read, of papers and the newspapers, and it's very expensive to get subscriptions, to the print media. And in many cases, it's very expensive for middle class or retired people who aren't into social media to know even how or why or whether they should, plus watching pennies, to sign up for like 50 different subscriptions to different podcasts and Substack and all the different things. It's the media, the information is only going now to a small sliver of the voting public. Sorry, but that's
It's
true.
Just how do you get those D's and I's to come over to an R when, across the river,
You go to meetings. I've been in meetings I'm going to. I was at a meeting in Fairfax County, on Tuesday night. I'm going to be going to a thing in Arlington for people to come to meet and greet me. And in Crystal City, which is the part of Arlington, Aurora Hills and Crystal City and all that area, to see them on Tuesday night, assuming that Snowmageddon has been controlled somewhat by the Virginia Highway Department, and in the city of I'm not in the city of Alexandria. Unfortunately, I do have a fundraiser that was a meet and greet that's probably Sunday night, which is probably going to be more of a snowball fight. But no, it's just, weather is weather. It doesn't take a side. So I'm doing that. I assume Elizabeth will be down in Richmond, so maybe they'll miss the brunt of the snow. But I worry about if anybody wants to watch your podcast, your Substack thing, while they're sitting all weekend in the snow, wondering about whether their electric bill is going to go through even more through the ceiling because their solar panels or their wind turbines or their batteries might run out, are understanding that electricity is going to go up. And that's what the governor's just taking us back into the new Green Deal. We're back to that. That's what caused 9% inflation. I don't know where we're going to make things more affordable that way.
Well, I do want to ask you about that because we've only had a Democrat governor for about 6 days, 5 days. We just had a Republican governor for 4 years.
Not with control of both legislative houses.
Okay. So is this about...
I do know politics. I understand what's going on.
Let's be honest. Is this about winning this seat, or is it about somebody should be on the ballot against the Democratic candidate?
Oh, I want to win the seat.
Well, then how are we going to convert? What are you telling Democrats and independents to vote for you? How are you getting them to vote?
Look at that I'm fair. I do not endorse any of the 4 constitutional amendments, whether They've now put off the one for redistricting, which people don't even know it's going to be on the ballot unless you're in the in crowds, that's coming up in late March or April. And people are going to go, what do you mean we're redistricting again? And then they'll have to go to all these community hearings to look at which district they're in. Da 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 da. It's like no rest for the wicked. Trust me.
Are you against redistricting in all states then?
Not in well, in all states. No, it depends on the election.
Well,
they're voters. Their voters get to choose.
Virginia's reconsidering redistricting because other states are redistricting in off years as well.
You know, keeping up with the Joneses, or are we keeping up with the Newsoms, or are we keeping up with the Waltzes and or do we want to be New York? Do we want to be Minnesota? Do we want to be California? Do we want to be Texas? Apparently are. All the people are moving to Texas and Florida. So go for it. Florida decided not to redistrict. You know, people are not flooding to Indiana, but they didn't redistrict. Even Maryland decided not to redistrict. They decided it was too much of a burden on the state legislature.
So what would winning actually look for you? What do we want to be?
What do I want to be?
No, what do we want to be? You said, you know, do we want to be, do we want to be, do we want to be all these?
We want to be Virginians.
And what does that look like? What does that mean?
Well, I think that we know our neighbors and we respect their differences and respect their different opinions, and we can talk it out. We can try and reach a middle instead of all going on the nine, on a 9, a 1 to 9, go for the 9, go for what I want, only what I want, and, shove it down their throats. We need to go to the negotiation that happens between the 4 and the 6 scale, where everybody comes out happy and there's bipartisan support.
How do you negotiate with people across the aisle?
You talk to them.
And, you mentioned independent check on one party rule. I think it's a 1-seat majority, so it would be pretty darn close down the middle.
It would be, but they do have the speaker of the Senate, cast the deciding, much like in the Senate, for people who follow this stuff, much like in the U.S. Senate. If it gets down to a 1-point vote, the vice president can vote. In the same thing it's the same thing. I'm a studier of politics and of local government and civic government. Unfortunately, there's so much going on for a lot of people. They find it quite boring. They're like, I don't want to know all those details. Just why is it so complicated? I would like to make it simpler. And I think my entire life, if I can teach brownies and Girl Scouts how to build fires, how to earn badges, how to not walk out in the middle of the street, how to pack and pack and hike out with nothing but what's in your backpack and sleep overnight and survive in the out of doors. I taught girls who had troops who were inner city or in city of Alexandria, who were in troops that were supported at rec centers. They couldn't go. They didn't have the monies and the equipment to be able to go out to the thing. But we did little camp outs so that they could learn how to survive in the city, how to get on a metro, how to get on a bus, how to hook it up to an Amtrak train if you wanted to go to New York or to Richmond or to someplace like that. Those are survivor skills that young people aren't taught. And now it turns out they've got the social media and the web, and they can just watch it on their phone.
You talk a lot about housing affordability on your website. Your kind of 6 pillars on your website are housing affordability, cost of living, a check on one-party rule, fair and secure elections, empowering women and girls, which you were just touching base on, and community first. Let's talk about housing affordability for a little bit. It's a priority. What are a couple things that you think can be done to lower costs for Virginians? I guess it's across the district.
Across the district. Across my district or across Virginia? Because
Virginia.
Or Northern Virginia is the most unaffordable area of Virginia. For the people that are listening out there that say, how is she going to lower my personal affordable thing? Unfortunately, I have no choices for you except to move south or move out. There's other communities in Virginia that have all the benefits of it, but do not have all the taxes that are added on to it. There's going to be more taxes added on to buying there's actually going to be taxes added on to subscriptions for podcasts and for social media, all the stuff that you have to do. There's a proposed almost 4% tax, standalone 4% more on all of your DoorDash, your Amazon deliveries, your whatever, from the restaurants, from whatever. All of that will have a 4% tax. I don't see that lowering the affordability rate here in Northern Virginia. 4% more on your Lyft rides, on your Uber rides, on your everything. All of those things are going to that's what's going to pass. That is not, and that's the Democrats' proposal. That is not lowering affordability, making of things affordable. That's making it unaffordable, more unaffordable.
We're hearing a lot about what you're against, but what are you for? On your website, you talk about that you'll fight for real solutions. What's a real solution?
What I'm for is for in our affordable housing here in the district to try to, instead of assuming that everybody is poor and the affordable, that they don't want to live like everybody else, that they can only or should be happy and begging to live in 600 square feet, plus paying their electric and having no parking. How can you raise a family or raise your status in life if you're just being taken every single penny that you have that you're earning, that you have to pool everything? You can't save, you can't do anything. You can't pay for the fees which are going up too for your child to play soccer or to be on a baseball team or to be in Girl Scouts for that matter.
So what do we do about it? What are your solutions for it?
Well, my solutions are to pass legislation and encourage people here locally to make it more affordable here in the district. But
and
that's not.
What does that legislation look like?
Well, it's apparently the legislation's there. I would oppose it. And I would lower the fees. I would get the city to reduce. If you look at your bill from, your server, your electric, your telephone bill, there's 12% that goes to the city. 12% on top of your bill.
So really? You would cut fees.
That's one line per line.
Yeah. Per
line. Yes, I would cut fees that we're able to do quickly. I would not reverse and say, oh, we're going to go with fossil fuel and everybody and make Virginia Power do, millions of batteries, stockpile millions of batteries. I mean, those things didn't work during the Biden administration. I don't think, or nor in Northam's administration. So they're not going to work. They're not going to work during a Sandberger administration. So I would oppose all those things. That's how I would in the legislature, in the Senate. I don't know, I will be in a minority party unless there are 2 Republican senators seats flip. I can always pray, but that's.
Yeah. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it because, obviously the mass majority of voters in Virginia voted for the way things are now. So
but 4 years ago they voted for ways that were different than this, So they voted because the election was on making things more affordable. She'll work on affordability, and all that's come forward, the proposals all are being unaffordable. They're making it unaffordable.
And that's why I'm trying to get you on to give me some solutions, because I want to make sure that your solutions don't just come across as being opposed to what the Democrats are doing.
Well, I would try to pass a bill to lower the costs for those things, to lower the cost for the gasoline tax. Every time you fill up gasoline, the state has this a tax. Lower that tax. I would also try to do a thing that would freeze the costs and the salaries for people who are in local government and who are employees of the state of Virginia and the cities and counties. Now, not the teachers, not the firemen, not the policemen, but all of the consultants in this. I'm familiar with the city of Alexandria most. The the staff has like quadrupled. There is a consultant on the payroll for everything. We have a huge staff, one of the largest staffs for a city, for an independent city. And yet we have to then go pay and hire outside consultants to run every single survey that's done, which there's zillions of them. Everything is run by a consultant. So why do we need all this staff if in fact everything is being charged and they're paying consultants to do it all? I don't understand. And I've asked that question. I've gotten no answers. I didn't get any from Justin. I haven't gotten them, from anybody else now, so.
Has any Republican delegates introduced anything regarding anything like that in the past?
Yes, they have. But it was voted down. Did I mention earlier in this that it's, even for Youngkin, all the stuff he did get through, he vetoed a lot of stuff the Democrats passed. And that is a way to make things more affordable. All they want to do is tax and tax and tax and tax, so that he already has a super fund that Youngkin is passing on, but they want more and more and more so they can buy more and more and more. It would seem to me that possibly that the way to make things more affordable is to give everybody a government job.
We touched on housing affordability, a little bit of cost of living, a little bit of check on one-party rule. Fair and secure elections are on your list. You have the experience as 10 years on the electoral board.
Yes.
I'm going to imagine that elections in Alexandria are fair and secure.
Yes, I think they are. I think the electoral board runs very fair and square. Yes. There's no.
So what's your priority?
We do have during COVID, there was a lot of instances that push the envelope on ballot harvesting. But yes, we still have a fair portion of our citizens in Alexandria who actually come to the polls.
Did you report the ballot harvesting? Did you report the ballot harvesting?
Well, it was reported. Yeah.
It
was in the news.
To authorities. Yeah.
It was in news. To the authorities?
Yeah.
Well, it's during COVID, it was very difficult because all the city offices were closed. You had to chase them down. I attended something like 70 Zoom calls with the city council, where all of the city council, where none of the participants were allowed to talk for the most part. And all you saw was the council's pictures on the Zoom screen. And you'd have to go off into your other, the listeners thing to scroll through pictures, no names on it, and nobody was able to talk. And in that time, we rezoned like hundreds of sites in the city. We tore down affordable housing properties throughout the city, especially the ones the city owned, but others that were vacant land that the developers and actually the city loan properties, they then sold to developers so that they could build 8-story buildings on all this, so that all the people who were, and they got 12% of the units to be affordable housing. Well, before they tore the building down, they had practically that same many. They picked up 3 or 4 units in each of these projects, but they did pick up hundreds of at-market units that they would sell.
Yeah. You mentioned...
And you know what? If you go around town, in Old Town especially, go around and see all the chain link fences that are up around holes that have holes that haven't been finished. Those are all rezoned to be affordable housing. Or not affordable housing, to be market housing with 12% of the units set aside for affordable housing. And the city council refused to increase that amount, was asked to increase that amount to 18% and then to 15%, but they declined to do it. 12% is all that we are angsting over our working poor.
Yeah, there was actually some news that came out today where there's going to be about 353 377 new affordable apartments that are.
Well, I know they were rezoned back in COVID. That's been 6 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I just meant there's news today that where there's
I
377.
know they're recycling the ones. They stopped construction on all of them. They tore down everything. Everything down there, you know, that used to be on the south part of St. Asaph Street, St. Alfred Street. All of those got that all, and Henry, that all got torn down. The ones by the Braddock Metro got torn down. There's all kinds of them. They're all over the place. Now they've just torn down the ones here at the corner of Beauregard and Braddock across from the Inova. That was the craziest one I went to because the developer's representative said, "Oh, we're hoping to be here in the Northern Virginia Community College that we will be attracting a lot of professors and staff and students who want to be close to campus." Do they not understand it's a commuter campus?
Have you ever considered running for city council?
No, I don't want to run. I mean, I probably have as much chance of getting elected to this one as I do to the city council, the way that the current control is going.
But with that said,
they don't want bipartisan. They don't want.
When you say they,
bipartisan.
When you say they, you mean the voters, because the voters are the ones.
No, the city council. The ADC.
Well, then why aren't people voting for the Republicans or independents when they are candidates?
I don't know. It's your maybe they're all happy with 9% unaffordability. Maybe they're happy with their taxes going up. Maybe they're happy that they can't get to Old Town, you know, without going through 12 stoplights. Maybe they're happy getting $100 tickets for going 20 miles an hour in a 15-mile-an-hour zone. Maybe they're happy with that. I don't know. Maybe they're wealthy. Maybe they have some way to get the tickets fixed. I don't know. What can I say? I know I paid $100 one. Yeah. I've only done it once. So now I creep through world. We wonder why traffic is so backed up. That just came out. That's just been in the things, you know, returning to pre-COVID things. What's also, we're returning to pre-COVID things going at 15 miles an hour.
What do you say to there's about 13,000 federal workers in Alexandria, so probably 20,000 across the district. Guesstimating, I know 13,000 in Alexandria.
Oh, I think it's higher than that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's higher than that.
What's your thoughts on the workforce reductions and the pain that some of them
are you thinking that that's how many are now in the district or before the workforce reduction?
The city of Alexandria says that they have approximately 13,000 federal employees who live
and what was that based on? What time was there? What were they basing those facts on?
They were using that as recently as the city manager's last report.
What was he basing it? Look at the footnotes. I look at all the footnotes. It's from 2002, you know, or 2000.
Well, let's just get to the what is your message to those federal workers who are worried about their jobs and worried about
you know, you started out saying, you know, I worked at the White House during the Nixon Ford administration. When Jimmy Carter got elected, I was I lost my job because of that. I went and found a job.
So do you support the cuts that have been made and the
do you support affordability, cutting things? Do you think there's a way to make our lives more affordable other than by reducing something?
I'll throw it back at you one more time. Has the prices of your items gone down since all of these federal employees have been laid off across the United States?
Yes, I was paying $7 for eggs a dozen, and they're down now to $4.
And
or in some places, if you go to Aldi, they're $2.95.
And you think that's because some employees got laid off in the federal government?
I think it's the sign that the market, yes, the market is saying somebody's trying to reduce rates. Yes, I think that all the things at your grocery store, those people don't set their rates by what it costs them to build it. It's all marketing. It's all goes out in the middle from the manufacturer, I mean, from the farmer or from the eggman or from the whatever to your shelf. There are like so many people that are getting their slice of the cut. And that's why I think that you need to reduce You need to reduce government to do the minimum that it can do to help the people. We don't need to have a huge city staff, for instance, here in the city of Alexandria, to then turn around to decide which consultants do we hire. And then to have 6 people on the staff monitoring what the consultant is doing and helping them run their slideshow projections when they come out to the city. You don't need that. We should, if we have that many staff, we should not need consultants.
We talked a lot about what's on your website, which is julie4va.com, as well as your press release. What do you want voters to know about?
I noticed that's what Kirk is. Kirk McPike is for Virginia.com. He must be using the same. They are all their websites are all the same.
Yeah. What do you want voters to know about you that they won't learn from your website or a press release that we didn't already get?
I'm passionate about serving the people. I'm not a politician. I've never run for office before. I'm not looking to stair step and in 18 months change jobs and get a higher position. No, I don't want to run for city council. No, I'm not doing this so that I can run for governor, so that I can run for Congress, or so I can challenge the Senate, U.S. senators, or my congressman, which keeps changing because they keep redistricting me in and out of the 8th. But since I now live here on the edge of the world as far as Alexandria is concerned. But no, I'm not running for any of that. I'm just trying to make a difference now, today, in 2026. And if I'm elected, then the voters can decide if I did a decent job or not. And it's up for election again in 2.5 years or 2 years and some months change.
I've been trying to shine the light on the West End a little bit more, because I think oftentimes it is mentioned in the not most positive news. So let's hear some of your favorite businesses, restaurants, coffee shops, and your...
Oh, I like your thing. I check that thing all the time. I check that. And the Zebra does the same thing. They've got all the places that you can go and eat and do that kind of stuff.
Do you have any favorites over there that people should be going to? They should
what my favorite in the West End, and what is the thing, my best carry out, because I must say that during COVID, I lived for it, is Ho's Chinese thing on Fern Street, which is a hole in the wall. You can't dine in, you have to walk in. It's sort of like, when you used to say, oh, if all the policemen and the firemen are eating here, it must be good food. Well, if all the students from from Alexandria Public High School are walking, 4 blocks to be able to get an affordable, decent food, then that, yes, and Fairlington Pizza and those types of things. We have some carry-out here on Beauregard. There's actually my favorite one, an Italian place, is just closed because of they can't afford their rent. The rent's gone up. That's what, we've got these rents, and you're right. And so the city wants to raise the assessment, raise the cost on the owners of property, and you raise that, and then they have to pass on the rate raise to go to the tenants, and they can't. They are not making bunches of money, these little independent small business people. They're on thin ice. They are not getting wealthy. That's not how they're doing. They're out there every day having to turn the lights on, keep the heat on, buy the property, right, buy their produce, whatever they're doing, get their employees until the employees are offered something better, or go looking for something better, or move out of the city of Alexandria and it's too far to commute. That's our problem. Our workforce affordability is off the charts. You have to be fairly wealthy to buy a new home in the city of Alexandria.
I think we can all agree on that. Your website is...
And what have we done in the last... I've been doing this for the last 20 years with the city council and on hearings, and what has come down? Has anything come down except school scores?
I don't know. Sounds like a good question for city council.
I've asked that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but
I'm going to put it back on the voters again.
Has the staff increased?
This message, I would say that you need to get together with a Republican or independent candidate for city council
Well, we
and have
can't.
them run on this.
Well, it's can, but to run for the city council, you would have to court the developers, and then you can get your $500,000 contributions for your campaigns. I mean, that's the real story behind what it costs to run an expensive campaign and have signs every day, to have staff to populate your website every day and whatever. I mean, that's what it costs. I'm doing it all myself, and with the help of the people that are donating and sending checks into the party, so that I can actually have a website, have this, because do you know how many people can take their time off? I mean, I understand, Elizabeth was a nonprofit executive opening a a wonderful enterprise to help underserved people as creating a nonprofit, getting grants to pay her bill, the supplies, the rent, the light, the whatever. That's not what the regular small business people have. They don't have grants to fund them.
You
Now,
mentioned
maybe if
education.
we raise more and more and more and more money to give out grants, then yes, maybe they're not working directly for the city, but they're working for tax money. They're being paid by tax money ultimately, if you go back to where it begins.
We're well beyond what I had asked you to come on for.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. But I
told
want
me not to talk too much and not let you fluster me or bully me. So
let's go back to education. I'm not going to bully
anybody. Am I bullying
anybody.
you? I don't mean to bully you.
No, I'm not going to bully anybody, but I'm going to push back on everybody a little bit and just try to help people. But education, how do we get those scores back up that you mentioned?
Well, I'm a substitute teacher in the city of Alexandria. I haven't done it this past fall because I had a shoulder replacement, total shoulder replacement. And I had a long time being able to do it because the kids are wonderful there. We do have a population, and I only substituted in these West End schools, Ferdinand, John Adams, Ramsey, out here. We have a lot of people. They're all living in rent, not all of them, but in rental properties that line this West End, Southern Towers, all over the place. Those are all scheduled to be turned over by their owners and their developers into basically what's happened to Arlington, Crystal City. There's not going to be any yards for small houses for families to have kids even with big sidewalks to do their big wheels down the sidewalk, or to walk, and the mother walk the dog with a carriage. You can't do it in the cities. There's no sidewalks to accommodate that kind of thing, unless you happen to be maybe in Old Town where the bricks might not kill your chassis of your poor kid, but it's that kind of thing. We are not making it a community to live in.
But how do we improve the education?
Well, the kids, by more people being student teaching, and to help with all of there's a lot of tutoring, things like that. These kids, I had kids who were refugees from Afghan. They had been in a refugee camp like 3 weeks before they arrived in the classroom that I was a substitute for. They were still learning English. I had another little boy who had been here for 6 months, and he was my translator in the class.
So
it's more having, you can't just throw these kids into a pot. You have to, they pick up English very quickly, but their scores are going to be low. They're very smart. In fact, I took in one of my classes, it was so fun. We were teaching math, which was new math, where you do squares and boxes. You can't just add 2 and 2 and do a line and put 4 at the bottom. You have to do boxes and do all this stuff. Anyway, I gave one of the tests. I think this was in a 3rd grade class. Anyway, the child who had just arrived from Venezuela and still couldn't speak English much at all. We had another child in there being the translator. He scored 100 on the test. He knew his math.
So your solution to improve education scores is?
Teach them. Teachers spending lots of time and people helping them, but they need smaller classes. The classes I were in were were 22, 23, 25, and a third of them were non-English speaking or or needed emotional or physical special aids. We had special aids in the thing, and that's basically what I was. I was an aide. And I was assigned to a division of schools. But other than that, they're sitting there doing about 2/3 or thirds of the day, not understanding what's being said to them. It's hard to improve scores that way. You got to go down to basics. You can't do it all with fancy stuff.
Your website.
You can't do. They loved recess, you know. But at Ferdinand Day, it's on the 3rd floor of the parking garage there. It was asphalt top. There was a swing and a slide and whatever, but other than it was all asphalt, 3 stories above of the streets. Not a tree or a blade of grass to be seen. None. In fact, that's my complaint, which I did lodge about, and bless his heart, Kerry Donnelly needs to be recognized for the playing grounds. But the ones that are there in the pit of Minnie Howard, no grass, no trees. I mean, the trees will grow in, 5 or 6 years, but it was cutscaped. You cannot do it that way. You can only if you want to look like Clarendon. I mean, we have unfortunately, I find that City of Alexandria we're small independent city, but we have envy. We have envy with our neighbors. We want to be big just like them.
I'm going to hold you there because we are over time. The website is julieforva.com where people can go find out more information.
Yeah. Just one last correction. It's Julie Robin Lineberry, no S.
Oh, did I put that somewhere?
Yeah, they always do. They always do. It's
right,
like Robin the bird. It's not like a flock of them.
I will look to make sure I don't have that somewhere, but
well, I can send you a copy of my driver's license and my passport and everything else.
I believe you.
But it's people just tend to do it. They want to pluralize it. I don't know why it is. It's just that's my maiden name, So my husband died in 98. So I'm a widow. Didn't have any children. I understand what a gift children are.
So julieforva.com where people can find out more information as well as sign up for your email list and contact you and all of that good
Call
stuff.
Call me. Invite me to your home. I'll come have coffee with you.
Excellent. And I have all right. Sounds good. I'm hearing myself, so I'm going to wrap this up, but I appreciate you joining me. I wish you the very best of luck on February 10th.
Thank you. I knew you're doing a great job,
I'm trying to get as much information.
You're the busiest podcaster in Alexandria, although I don't know, maybe there's lots more of you,
You're not.
I think
otherwise I would let them do it.
Huh?
If there were, I would let them do it.
Well, that's sort of why I'm running.
Yes.
That's
it. All right, Julie. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate it. Good luck.
I appreciate you. julieforva.com. And we appreciate her taking the time to join us. Again, visit her website where you can find out, you can meet her news, endorsements, volunteer, donate, sign up for her email list, contact her, and all of that. If you missed any portion of this conversation, want to watch it again, want to share it, want to listen to it, we'll all be available on alexandriabrief.com. Thanks for watching.